So what does Nigeria's independence mean to African Americans? Well, for many, it's their heritage that they see. The ancestry of the largest number of African Americans can be traced to Nigeria, and many are curious about this country. According to numerous studies, more than 12.5 million enslaved people were shipped from Africa to the Americas, and nearly half of them were taken from Nigeria, around the shores of Calabar and the Niger Delta. But beyond their curiosity about Nigeria and Africa, the rather sad fact is that many see Nigerians and Africans as people from a richly endowed continent that's home to the world's poorest. So, as the most populous black nation on earth marks its independence, can unity of purpose be found among Nigerians and African Americans that will help develop this country and end the marginalisation of black people across the globe? Well, my next guest is recognized in Washington and in capitals across Africa as the leading American expert on issues related to African policies and programs. Melvin Foote is a pioneer in African affairs. He has more than 35 years of experience working in over 30 African countries, including Nigeria. In addition to founding the Constituency for Africa organization, which works for the progress and empowerment of Africa and African peoples worldwide, Mr. Foote is also the founder of the African American Unity Caucus, which builds private and public support for Africa and has over the years helped to shape a progressive U.S. policy towards the continent. And I'm delighted to say that Melvin Foote joins me now from Washington. Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Foote, for joining us. First of all, give us your message to Nigeria as it prepares to mark 61 years of independence.
Well, thank you, Charles. First of all, I want to wish Nigeria a happy 61st birthday. That's in order. We have to celebrate. I really enjoyed Governor Duke's discussion about Nigeria. It was sobering, no question about it. But I just really want to wish Nigeria and Nigerian people all the best. And I wish Africa all the best. So that's my message.
Well, thank you very much indeed. And your message will be warmly and gratefully received. But on a more sort of practical and pragmatic level, how do people like you who are African American and who want to see countries like Nigeria develop and grow in a positive direction explain to the world why things have not gone the way Nigerians and many friends of Nigeria like yourself hoped since this country's independence in 1960?
Well, 10% of my personal DNA is Nigerian. 40% is Ivorian, 20% is Ghanaian. So I'm right there. I see Nigeria as a reflection of Africa people worldwide. We talk about how Nigeria is divided among its people, religious and cultural backgrounds. So is Africa. So is African people in Trinidad. So is African people in Jamaica. So are African people here in Washington. So globally, Nigeria is the leader. It's the place where the largest concentration of African people are worldwide. So we have to say the African giant is the leader of African people worldwide. But the challenges that Nigeria face are similar to challenges that African people face around the world. So I don't see it as necessarily some anomaly of situation. It really is reflective of us globally.
Yeah, but I'm not quite sure how to read that because, just the fact that it's a reflection of black people globally doesn't mean that that's a positive thing. How much of that the problems Nigeria faces are sort of self-imposed or self-inflicted?
Well, I think the problems that Nigeria face and the problems African people face are global problems. Part of this is the fact that, although colonialism has gone 60-something years, neo-colonialism exists very much so. the governing system, the education system, the healthcare system, all have been inherited from a flawed system from the start. So Africa has got to figure out how do we overcome this stuff. I think a lot of it has to do with the next generation. Half the population of Nigeria is under 30 years old. These young people are not going to go along with what has gone on thus far. There's going to be change. I think that's going to happen. We're going to have to lobby to refocus Africa. Right now, we have the Continental African Free Trade Agreement, which is the largest free trade agreement worldwide. I think that's a good start for Africa, but it's also a message to Africa, to Nigeria. We're going to have to rethink our situation. We're going to have to lobby here in Washington. We're going to lobby the World Bank. We're going to lobby the United Nations to give Africa a better deal. The deal that Africa has faced and the deal that Nigeria has faced is unfair. You know, the trade policies, we're talking about energy, for instance. Nigeria is talking about, I saw what Dangote is building this huge refinery, which sounds like a great deal. But what does that say about global climate change? What does it say where the rest of the world is thinking about electronic vehicles and using other sources of energy other than fossil fuel? What does that say to Nigeria, which is heavily dependent on fossil fuel and is still talking about oil when the rest of the world is thinking about alternative? So we got to really think about the future. I think a lot of this has to do with the next generation, the young African leaders that are going to emerge are going to have to think about this totally different. We cannot keep, doing the same thing that we've been doing for the last 60 years. We're going to have to rethink it. And, I'm optimistic, actually. I think that I meet all kinds of young people in Nigeria and around Africa that hold a lot of promise about the future. But they need to be empowered. Having an election like you always had the election, and one side takes it. It's our turn to eat and not your turn to eat. I don't think that's going to work anymore.
Yes, that's a good point. But are you suggesting then that this generation has pretty much failed and it's up to the next generation to try and turn things around?
I think that this generation was really set up to free Africa from colonialism. Well, we've done that, but in terms of building a nation, I don't think they were even focused on it. I think they were focused on, political power, self-enrichment. This is where all this corruption came from. I'm not sure that anybody was really focused. I knew of the former chief, Abiola, was an old friend of mine, and I saw him in Nigeria right before he died. I was one of the last ones to really have a chance to sit down with him. I was not the one who gave him the tea, but I did talk to him, and he did have a vision that talked about a greater Nigeria, that not only Nigeria, but Africa. And I think we're going to have to revisit something like that, but I think it's going to have to be done with eyes wide open. One of the things the governor talked about is that governance in Nigeria is not done by intellectual, people who are really thinking. It's done by political, who got the money, who got the power, but it's not done about, economic policies. It's not done by people who really understand health systems. We have something like 40,000 Nigerian doctors practicing in North America right now. And they're not your doctors at the general hospital. These are doctors and surgeons at Harvard and Stanford. Some of the best health clinics, health systems in the United States are being maintained by Nigerians. And I'm saying, wow, why aren't these doctors empowering, doing their work in Nigeria or on the continent of Africa? Why are they here to save the white man when in fact they should be saving African people? One of the group I work with here is the Association of Nigerian Physicians in North America. And we're having these kind of conversations. So, there's a lot of work to be done. I don't think that you or I are going to be around to see all of the progress, but we can be helpful in making sure, empowering this next generation to go forward. And that's really where I put a lot of my energy at right now.
Well, I mean, the simple truth is, trying to answer what you were saying there, is that the United States has created an enabling environment for people to thrive, and Nigeria has not created that enabling environment, which is why many of them leave the country to go somewhere else in order to thrive. But for somebody like yourself, who is a big advocate on behalf of Africa, it must be hard to explain the fact that other countries, Malaysia, Indonesia, China, India, Brazil, having similar resources with Nigeria, with the same access to pools of talent, have been able to defy the odds and become innovative year after year. I mean, is it predicated on the quality of leadership? And we've got less than a minute to take a break, but we'll come back and keep talking.
I think it's hard to argue with what you just said. That's a hard argument to make. And why hasn't it? Now, we see progress all over Africa. We see a lot of countries that are emerging. I'm seeing a lot of leadership. The new president of Zambia, I'm encouraged by it. I'm encouraged by Angola. But will they be allowed to even carry out the things that they're talking about remain to be seen if the IMF, if the World Bank, if the United Nations, if the United States, if Britain don't interfere and just disrupt the progress. And so I think we're talking about a global problem, and we're going to need global solutions to some of this stuff.
Okay, please stay with us, Mr. Foote. Would like to talk with you some more. You're watching the Arise interview. Plenty more still ahead as we continue our chat with Melvin Foote about what Nigeria's independence could mean for the African diaspora. Stay with us. Now, perhaps arguably more than anyone else in recent times, Melvin Foote has thrown the issues that affect Africa into focus in the United States. He's been key to creating links between the African Union and diaspora leaders in the West, serving as an advisor to the African Union's ambassador in Washington and as a consultant to the World Bank on African diaspora issues. He's been part of White House delegations to Africa, variously sent by the US government to assess the genocide in Rwanda, the war between Ethiopia and Eritrea, and to lead a mission to reach a comprehensive peace agreement in Sudan. And he was a prominent member of a US presidential mission to 5 African countries to promote US trade with Africa and the African Growth and Opportunity Act. So, as Nigeria, Africa's most populous country, turns 61, where does he think this country is headed, and what could that direction mean for the African diaspora? And Melvin Foote is with me still from Washington. Thank you very much indeed for staying with us. How much is Nigeria something of a paradox to the international community in general, and to African Americans in particular, who want to see Nigeria do well? I mean, a country richly endowed with human and natural resources, and yet constantly scoring amongst the lowest on the sort of Human Development Index.
It is indeed a paradox. We see Nigerians excel just about in every area, be it sports, be it education, be it political. We see Nigerians, people like Ngozi. We see Adesina at the African Development Bank. I mean, tremendous experts. Last week, I had a meeting with the director for Africa in Kamala Harris's office. The U.S. policy toward Africa is going to be directed by the vice president. And so we've been asked to submit our recommendations to the administration for Africa, for the U.S. Africa policy, which will be announced before the holidays. And one of the recommendations we're making is that the U.S. have a special focus on Nigeria. We want to help. We want our country to help Nigeria. I'm not sure we've always been in a position of helping Nigeria. We're so busy trying to get an oil deal or to exploit the natural resources that we never really helped the Nigerian people. But maybe we could play a stronger role in helping the government to think through. I would also recommend that Nigeria think about some kind of diaspora summit, and it can be done virtually, where you get these voices like Ngozi to really reflect on what Nigeria has to offer and maybe come up with some creative solutions. But I think that we ought to try to be proactive in helping Nigeria to get through the quagmire. I'm not sure that this quagmire is driven by Nigerians themselves. I believe that some of it's external. I think there are people out there who don't want Nigeria to move forward. They do a better, they get better negotiations if Nigeria is corrupt. They get better negotiations if Nigeria is divided and fragmented. And so we got to try to overcome that. And I think the rest of us in the diaspora need to be helpful to Nigeria as much as we can.
You made a very good point there. I hope you're still with us, because your image froze. Okay, I think his image has frozen, which is really very sad, because I was going to talk to him. The very important point I wanted to raise with him, which is okay, there he is. You're back now, because your image sort of vanished for a while. But the wonders of the internet. But you made a very important point, I think, when you said that Nigeria needs to think about organizing some kind of conference with the African diaspora and Nigeria. And that's a very good point, because that really is the sort of leadership that Nigeria ought to be showing to the African diaspora. Do you think that Nigeria is not doing enough to strengthen links with African Americans, for example, and give them a chance to explore the possibility of reconnecting with Nigeria?
Absolutely not. Like right now, I could not even tell you who the Nigerian ambassador in Washington is. I know the old man passed away, but I think you have a new ambassador to Washington, but zero outreach. Start from there. Who's over here promoting Nigeria to the diaspora, African Americans, even within the Biden administration? I'm not seeing much of an effort. There was some talk about, diaspora engagement from Nigeria last few years, but I'm not seeing any follow-up. There's a lot more that can and should be done by Nigeria. I think the diaspora can be much more helpful, not only in terms of trade and investment, but also in terms of expertise, governance. We have all these mayors and members of the Congressional Black Caucus and others who really are experts on governance. Can they not be helpful to Nigeria in some regard? But I don't think that they're being properly courted, or they're not being asked to be engaged. And so we need to do a lot more in that regard.
Yes, and that's another very good point that you've made. And in that regard, do you think Ghana, for instance, is doing a lot better than Nigeria?
I think Ghana is doing a lot better than Nigeria. I'm talking to the Liberians now. The mayor of Monrovia was in town last week. We had lunch. They're celebrating the 200-year bicentennial of when African American slaves went back to settle Liberia. They want to use this as a kickoff for a chance to start to, re-engage, to get the diaspora much more involved in Liberia. Benin is doing more. Togo is doing more. I think a lot of these countries are way ahead of Nigeria in that regard. It seemed to be a low priority for Nigeria to engage the diaspora.
Right, we've got about a minute or so left on the chat, rather sadly, but I'll ask you a question I asked one of our guests on the program a day or so ago. How important is it for black people in America and elsewhere for there to be a first world black nation that is worthy of international respect, sort of like Israel represents the Jews to the rest of the world, briefly?
I think it's extraordinarily important. African Americans really don't know who we are. We know we're from Africa, but we don't know where. I think if Nigeria was to stand up and, to reveal its promise, it would be a big thing, not only for Nigerian people, but for African people worldwide. So I'm pulling for that one 100%.
Melvin Foote, I want to thank you exceedingly for joining us there from Washington. And Melvin Foote is a friend of Africa, let me put it that way, amongst the many other things that he's done. That's it for this edition of the Arise interview. Join us again tomorrow. From me and the entire team here in Abuja and around the world, bye-bye and thank you for watching.